This is the start of a $17,000 dining table that's taken me almost 2 years to begin. It's part of a 3-table package and it was only supposed to take about 12 months. However, the first time I started building these 3 tables, I got almost all the way done with all 3 and I found trapped moisture inside the wood, rendering all 3 tables unusable. So this is the second go around.
When you plane it,
is it going to go through the other side? No, I think we still have plenty of room there. Went through. I really didn't want to put a hole through the top of my table, but after messing up those first 3 tables and making my clients wait another 6 to 8 months, I feel like it's not the worst thing I've done on this project. And you should know, I did give my clients the option to have their money back when I first made that mistake. They said they wanted to wait and get this done just right. And also the wood supplier stepped up. The trapped moisture, he was really disappointed, made it out of his shop. So he offered me these other slabs that were even nicer. This slab that I'm working on here was actually $6,000, which is a pretty crazy amount for a piece of wood, but I think it's worth it. Believe it or not, it's actually easier to build a form for a full-blown 8-foot traditional epoxy river type table than it is to build a form for these little corner pieces. These almost always tend to leak, and these weren't too bad, but I did get a couple of leaks. These 3 tables are going to be going to Europe. This dining table in particular is going to the Netherlands, and I wanted to put a little bit of an American flair on it, and I wasn't quite sure the best way to do that until now. Found a bullet embedded in it, and I figured, what's more American than a bullet? You saw me partially fill that void on the underside with epoxy, and I could have filled it all the way up and it probably would have been fine, but I always like to have a wood attachment point for my table base. So I went the extra mile. This actually did take quite a bit of time, but what I'm doing here is I'm creating a large patch to fill so I can have a nice solid wood mounting point for my table base. And I did that by using my router to kind of square out a big patch, cut this to just the right size, made sure that I had it, and the next thing I had to do was smooth it out with my belt sander.
I'm going to smooth out the big patch with the belt sander. After that, we'll put...
That is your friendly reminder to make sure that your belt sander trigger is disengaged before you turn it on, and the patch actually worked out really well. It was just about the right thickness and it smoothed out pretty quickly. And now I was ready to start squaring this table up, or should I say rectangling this table up? Either way, got it cut to a perfect rectangle, and then I set my track saw to about 22.5 degrees. It's just a nice roundabout chamfer that I like the look of, and you can use the track saw only this way. However, what I like to do is also come back with my router to clean it up. And now it's ready to mount the table base before moving on to the finishing process. It is very important to test all of your bolts at one time. Don't just put one at a time, because what can happen is 2 of them might fit when it's in one orientation and another one might fit in another orientation, but they might not all fit at the same time. So I made sure that they all fit, everything looked good, and now I was ready to start filling some holes. These holes are left by the wood seller. They use these to test the moisture content down inside the wood. It's the most accurate way. They actually drill a hole, hammer this pin down into it, and that tells them the moisture in the very center of the slab. But that means I got to fill a bunch of holes, and the best way that I found to do that is to use this plug cutter, and that gives a very tight, tapered fit, and is about as close a color match as I'm capable of making.
Well, I did my very best, but I know some of you are going to say, hey, I can see that dot from here. You did a horrible job. Well, guess what? This is a natural dot in the wood. These are the plugs that we filled that you didn't notice, so f*** off.
The finish process that I use is not necessarily proprietary towards me. I'm sure somebody else does one very, very similar. However, nobody taught me this process, and everything I've learned has been through my own trial and error. It's kind of a 2-coat process using Rubio Monocoat and the new N3 Nano, and it's so involved, or so specific I should say, it's not particularly difficult, that I've created a free finishing workshop. And if you want access to that, it's on my website. I may charge for it eventually, but for now it's just kind of a thank you to everybody that supported my page so far. This is the new N3 Nano that I mentioned. It is an incredibly thin but incredibly protective barrier for your wood furniture. It bumps up the sheen, it bumps up the contrast, but most importantly, it bumps up the protection. And there's a lot more info on n3nano.com if you'd like some information on that. But here is the finished piece. I actually did leave the bullet. I'd love to know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you subscribed or followed along.